All right, we're doing something a little bit special. It's kind of like an EP celebrates the release of Pixar's Inside Out 2. I've got my review and I've got some interviews with some Pixar creators on this film. Let's get started with my review. There's something incredibly special about Pixar, and yes, I know they don't always hit it out of the park, and they've had a couple of misfires over the last little while, but I've just seen Inside Out 2, and I can affirm that it is something special. Inside Out, if you can recall, was the idea of us going inside of the psyche of a little girl named Riley, and we get to know her different emotions and how they can kind of control her choices and her life. And what's happening with Inside Out 2 is that we skip ahead a number of years. Riley is now a teenager, and she is still loving hockey and still incredibly attuned to her relationship with her parents, and she's a very good human being, and she's kind of setting her goals for her life in this film, and she's growing up before our eyes. And what they've done with this film is they've gone deeper into the psychological makeup and the emotional makeup of a kid as they are becoming a teenager. And of course, as we all know, as we go through puberty, all kinds of new feelings and emotions and insights start to happen within each of us, and that's exactly what happens with Riley. And so we're introduced to new emotions like anxiety, played by Maya Hawke, and also envy, played by the Bear's Ayo Edebiri. And we get to see this character develop as all of these new feelings and new ways to express herself start to happen on screen. And what I was really impressed by overall by this picture was just the emotional intelligence of it, and just the beautiful work made by hundreds of people to kind of honor this story and these characters with real empathy and a real kind of sincerity. It's just such a beautiful work. It's such a fantastic showing of compassion from all of these individuals to just craft something kind of gentle, and it's not filled with this crazy high drama or like super complex villains or anything like that. It's really just about being human and understanding what it's like to kind of grow towards adulthood. And it's done in a funny way, in a charming way. There's less surprise this time because Inside Out was such an ingenious idea when it first came out, and we're basically re-examining things and elements that we saw in the first film, and we're just expanding on that. But there's not really like the shock of, oh my God, I've never seen Pixar do anything that looks like that before. It's a lot of the same imagery and a lot of the same types of environments that we've seen before. This is really a movie about performance and an authentic idea of what teenagers are facing and the emotions that happen between family members and the dynamics that happen as friends are transitioning to different parts of their life, and the complexities of it, but also the beautiful empathetic qualities of all of this as well, and that self-awareness as these things start to take hold. And it was really wonderful. Of course, I love the first Inside Out. And of course, what also colors this is that I have a daughter that's roughly the same age as the character, as the Riley character in these two movies. And so it's very strange to see a lot of these things presented on screen that, of course, I'm reflecting on in my real life. But I think that's what really sells this picture, is that Pixar was smart enough not to go so hard on the hijinks and to make this so loopy and crazy and bigger, badder, bolder. It's not about that. It's just a really clearly, beautifully defined love letter to this idea of becoming a teenager and what that means for everybody. And it really hit. It's really lovely. It's really beautiful. I mean, the artistry of the image is always impressive with Pixar, but I think also the restraint and the classy crafting of all of these little story elements. I loved it. It was great. I don't think it's as good as the first Inside Out, because that's kind of one of Pixar's masterpieces, to be honest. But this is pretty damn close, and it's really fun. And I also really enjoyed Yong Ye's cameo in this movie. It was unexpected. Well, we knew it was coming. We got a little taste of it at the Summer Game Fest. But he's terrific in this movie. His character's terrific. And there's lots of little touches and stuff, little winks, some pop culture winks in this movie. But beyond all of that, it's just a great story. And it's really human, and it's beautifully told. I'm going to give Inside Out 2 a 9 out of 10. Thank you very much, Victor Lucas. What's it like outside? It looks like it's nice and sunny out there. I'm editing here in the basement, but let's go to my interviews. First up, here's Rebecca McVey. Hey, I'm Victor Lucas from the Electric Playground, and I'm here with Rebecca McVey from Pixar. She's got a movie you might have heard about, a little independent feature called Inside Out 2, which is absolutely astounding in terms of its scope and its vision and all the new characters and new actors that you're bringing aboard. Rebecca, did you work on the first Inside Out film, or is this a new experience for you?
This was a new experience for me. I was in animation college when the first Inside Out film came out, so I was a fan before I stepped into my role on this movie. So, that came with a little tiny bit of intimidation, but it was like very exciting for me.
So you had anxiety in your bloodstream then. You could appreciate that part of the character.
Oh, constantly.
That's awesome. How long have you been at Pixar then?
I just got to 3 years now. I started in 2021.
Is this your first film with Pixar?
Yes, it is.
Amazing. And how does it feel? How does it feel to you? Your movie's going to be seen all over the world now.
Yeah, it is. It's bizarre. I started working on this movie in April of 2021 in very, very early days, and I worked on it continuously for 3 years. So I had to stay quiet about it for so long, and now I feel like I can just walk down the street and I might hear someone talking about it, and that's so exciting for me.
That's awesome. Why don't you set us up a little bit about the story? What are we going to see in Inside Out 2?
So Inside Out 2 picks up a couple of years after the end of the first one. Riley's a little bit older now. She's just turned 13. And she's going through some changes, and we meet some new emotions. She's going through a tumultuous inner time.
Now, your work is as a story artist, and could you also frame that as a storyboard artist? Is it pretty much like that? Okay,
it's exactly that.
Okay, I'm wondering what that means with a company like Pixar, which is all about CG renders and all of this meticulous kind of pre-thinking that goes into where the camera's going to go with all these 3D models and stuff. Is your work actually with pencil and paper? Do you start there, or how does your work begin?
Yeah, I do still hand draw everything that I do, whether that's pencil and paper or if I'm drawing on a Cintiq, which is like a big iPad, essentially.
Yep.
I do the first visual swing at the film. I get script pages, and then I go away into an office and I do hundreds of little black and white drawings, and I assemble them into a slideshow that I then pitch back to the director, as if to say, the film could look like this. Before we spend all this time pouring a ton of time and effort into animating, lighting, sculpting these characters, this is our first look at what it could look like.
That's amazing. Yeah, famously, Ridley Scott had to kind of struggle with Fox, I think, back in the day to get the money for Alien, but he went and he did all the storyboarding and went back and got all the money that he needed to make that incredible film. And I see just the necessity for storyboards for everything. Even when I make little segments for my TV show, I end up storyboarding little moments and stuff like that. Did your animation school training prep you for the professional world in the intensity of that? Was it kind of like a one-to-one? Did it feel like you knew all of what you needed to know when you got to Pixar, or was there a new way of thinking, a new kind of process that you hadn't encountered before?
I think I had a lot of the theoretical knowledge down when I finished school, but there's a big difference between kind of knowing intellectually how to do something and then drawing 500 drawings in a week. So there was definitely a bit of a learning curve just in terms of speed and accuracy. You do have to sort of just get quicker at like, okay, that idea didn't work. Come up with something like very, very quick to fill in the space. But for the most part, yeah, like you will learn what you need to know about storyboarding in school, but be prepared that it might be a little bit more intense once you get to the workforce.
Oh, I love it. Now, Pixar's got all, creators of every discipline and of every experience level in there as well. Is it an intimidating place to work, or is it a welcoming place, but maybe an expectation that you're there for a reason? How does it feel inside the company?
I think most creatives have this sort of like instinct to self-deprecate and to think of their work as like, oh, not that great, or compare themselves to their peers. I think Pixar does a really excellent job of making sure that you understand that you are there for a reason, like they liked your work.
Right.
So I have always felt very welcomed. I've always felt by the people who have more experience than me, I have felt very mentored, and I have tried to pass that along to the people with less experience than me.
Right.
It's a really great environment of teaching and learning here.
Well, Disney Canada let me know that there are quite a few Canadians working on Inside Out 2, and probably quite a few Canadians at Pixar in general. Do you guys have like a club or something? Do you get together, drink some Molsons or something?
We did all go and see a hockey game together. It wasn't just the Canadians, but I think we got the most out of it. We went and saw a Calgary and San Jose game together. And
awesome.
Yeah, it was great. I think that...
because Riley plays hockey, right?
Yeah, she does. She plays hockey in the movie. The head of animation, Evan Bonifacio, is also Canadian, so like that aspect of it was in very, very good hands.
That's great.
I don't know how it happened. There were sort of just like a lot of Canadians on this project.
Where did you go to school? Because you studied in Canada. Where did you go?
I went to York University first, and then after that, I went to Sheridan College in Oakville.
Very cool. So you have probably a lot of animation theory and a lot of experience sort of with all aspects, or educational experience with all aspects of animation. Are you looking to maybe, do a different part of the process on a future project? Are you thinking maybe one day you'll direct a feature or something for yourself? What are you hoping for in your path at Pixar?
I love storyboarding so much. I have never even considered another path. To me,
that's awesome.
This is like the ideal version of working as a professional artist. I get to work fast and loose. I get to focus more on ideas than on perfect execution every time. And I get to work in a team, which is the most fun part for me. Our story teams are between like 8 and 10 people. And it feels like you get very close with those people. You're sharing stories, you're hanging out in the room together, you're pitching ideas, they're giving you feedback, and it's just like a lovely, lovely environment.
Yeah, I guess in a way, your team is kind of pre-directing the movie and pitching it to the director to observe, to visually kind of be stimulated by it, and then take some of those ideas and spend the months to kind of see all of those renders through, I guess, in a way, right?
Yeah. That first swing, but like between getting the script pages and showing it to the director, I'm relying entirely on my own sensibility to get me there. Like I obviously have, the director saying, this is what I would like out of this scene, but I'm picking shots, I'm picking angles. I'm giving feedback in places where I think that the script might need a little bit of help, but obviously the final is the director's vision, but story artists have quite a lot of creative freedom in that middle space.
That's awesome. I imagine that Pixar has been a dream for a long time for you, and I think anybody that wants to get into animation. Can you give us, your favorite thing or your most surprising thing about working at Pixar? Again, it's the people. It's really just getting to be around all of these incredible creative minds. I love drawing, and I love filmmaking, and I love just everything about the creative process. And I'm surrounded by so many people who are just at the top of their game, and that's so personally inspiring to me. I just love the people I work with. Awesome. Well, congratulations, Rebecca, and all the best to you and all the team members at Pixar. And thank you for entertaining us the way that you do.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. And now we'll shift over to story supervisor John Hoffman. Hey, it's Victor Lucas from the Electric Playground, and I'm with John Hoffman from Pixar. They have just released Inside Out 2, and holy moly, is this movie just incredible. I was just blown away by this, John. Congratulations. How are you feeling?
Thank you. I feel really good. These movies are always really hard to make and takes a long time, but it's always really satisfying when you start getting, feedback from the audience and hearing that it's connecting with people. So I'm feeling pretty good today, actually.
There's a bit of a ringer in this situation because I have a 12-year-old daughter, and my wife and I
Okay.
took our daughter, her name is Ruby, to this film, and we also watched the first film together. And so, like, it is like a mirror image thing that we're watching with
Wow.
Riley on
Okay.
screen and our daughter beside us. And I think you're probably going to hear that a lot from a lot of parents. The thing that impresses me about this movie, and Pixar doesn't make a ton of sequels, but there seems to be this beautiful restraint with this movie. Was that something that you had to work as a team to not go too outlandish with new crazy big hijinks and ideas, or how did you kind of keep it so authentic and confined like that?
Yeah, I think it's finding the balance. We put these movies up internally a number of times. We
Yeah.
write them. We do all the storyboards. We put reels together. We screen them for the studio. We get notes. We tear it all apart, and then we rebuild it again. And it's kind of finding that focus and what's playing, what isn't playing. Okay, this is going a little far, and how getting feedback. We had like a cultural trust of teenage girls that we would meet with after every screening, and they would give us notes. And so we were, oh, this is all right. They're really connecting to this. Great. We've discovered something here. They're not feeling that. All right. We need to rethink this part. So it was a lot of different, getting feedback from different areas to kind of just find the what I hope we found was the sweet spot. So.
Oh man, it is. You nailed it. I'm curious how many, emotions you started out with, and how many didn't make the cut.
We definitely had more emotions than ended up in the movie.
Yeah.
I want to say there's 4 that didn't get in there, and I think a couple of those emotions were. Excuse me, just sort of, they were like one-off jokes, like really hilarious joke, but then there wasn't that much more that we could really do with the character. And it was kind of like paring that away of what specific emotions do we need to kind of tell the story that we're trying to tell with Riley. And so we ended up with the 4 that you see in the movie.
Well, great choices. Talk to me a little bit about working with Maya Hawke. She shines as Anxiety. She's a terrific actor that I absolutely fell in love with on Stranger Things. But what made her the perfect person for the role?
Yeah, she's so fantastic as Anxiety, and Anxiety was probably the hardest character for us to kind of find. And we tried a bunch of different versions of her, and nothing was ever quite landing. And we started to get close. And I think the element that really made Anxiety the Anxiety that you see in the movie is when Maya Hawke was cast. And she just brought so much empathy to her performance. And that kind of just stabilized the character. Because I think when we were doing earlier versions of the movie, she was maybe a little too manic and a little too anxious, which, she's Anxiety.
Fits.
She's supposed to be like that. But you needed that sort of depth of character and that other side. And because at the end of the day, the empathy was the most important part of that character, because she is the antagonist of the movie, but she's not the villain. Because she's just trying to help Riley. She's trying to do what all the other emotions are trying to do.
Yes.
Unfortunately, she's Anxiety, so she's kind of handling it the wrong way. But she is trying to help Riley. So that empathy that Maya brought was sort of the last piece of the puzzle that really made that character sing.
So when you're putting the pieces together, are you kind of rough animating? Could you sit back with the drawings and the storyboards and stuff and just actually project them and kind of watch the movie with scratch vocals and all that? Is that how you guys do it? Is that the whole process?
Yeah. So we'll, sequence it. We break the movie into sequences, right? So there's, 28, 29 sequences for a movie, and we hand those off to the story artists, and they board a sequence, and we take it into edit, and we cut it together, and we add temp music and temp dialogue and temp sound effects, and then we string the whole thing together, and we watch the movie as these kind of still images. There might be 2 or 3 poses that a character gives in any sort of given shot. But we're watching a drawn version of the movie, and that's kind of how we craft the story and sort of see how it's really working.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, and of course I'm thinking of all these nice little pieces and stuff in there. But yeah, it's a really powerful film, and I'm wondering, you've made a few of these now, and you're a veteran at the studio now. What does a movie like Inside Out 2 teach you?
Ooh, good question. I think this movie for me, I learned a lot about character, just as far as sort of how to craft characters. Pete and his team that made and Ronnie Del Carmen and the rest of the team that made the first movie, they just crafted this really compelling world that's so fun to kind of play in and add to and expand out of. And I just sort of saw, but all of that comes from that sort of core 5 characters of, joy, fear, disgust, anger, and sadness. And I think just as amazing as the world is and everything, it's like it's all about, it's coming from those characters is sort of the basis. And I think that was sort of the big thing I learned on this movie.
Yeah, I would imagine there is a tremendous amount of self-examination, right? And looking at your own emotions, and because that's how we walked out of the theater. It was like a real kind of inward look, and the idea that the emotions expand and the flavors of a person get larger, and it's just harder to contain it all. And that's what I applauded so much, is that the restraint, you didn't go overboard with, wacky idea. You kept it kind of contained, which was really nice. Who's your favorite character in the film?
Ooh. This might not paint me in the best light, but I love the character of Anger. I just think that character is really funny. And again, he's got such a balance. Like, he is angry, but there's a lot of other stuff. And we show some more sides of him in this movie. Quick story. When I was on Cars 3, we were in a bit of a slow spot, and they needed some brainstorm work for some gags on the first Inside Out movie. And so some of us got pulled over to do like a 2-week brainstorm, and we were asked very specific things. And I think I came up with like 1 or 2, none of this ended up in the movie, but I came up with 1 or 2 ideas to pitch for the stuff that they actually wanted us to work on. And then I was like, oh, and Pete, here's 50 anger gags. And like, I don't know what to say. I just get this character. None of that ended up in the movie, but that's sort of my feeling about that character.
That's awesome. Has development kind of shifted back to pre-COVID for you guys at Pixar? I know you had to do a lot of work from home transition through COVID. Are you kind of all back at the studio and working together?
Yeah. I'm at home today, but we're back at the studio, and I've been working pretty much exclusively from the studio for over a year now. I think maybe longer. I can't remember. But
what makes a Pixar movie different from a Walt Disney Animation Studio film? Because their CG department has just gotten better and better over time. You guys, were the innovators in the space, and everybody was looking to Pixar to kind of lead. What makes a Pixar film different from something produced internally at Disney Animation?
That is a great question. I think some of it has to do with just the types of stories that Pixar tells. Disney and Disney does a lot of musicals. Pixar has not done a musical. I don't think that's to say that we never will, but it's just different movies. I don't know if I could really put my finger on what the specific difference is. yeah, I've got nothing for you. Sorry.
Would there ever be an interest from you or your colleagues on doing something, maybe like a Star Wars movie, or I know you did Big Hero 6, but was that Disney?
That was Disney.
That was Disney. Yeah. Would there ever be an interest in something like that, or is Pixar really wanting to define its own intellectual property?
Yeah, I think Pixar's more interested in sort of their own intellectual property. You know, it'll be a mix of sequels to movies that you've seen from Pixar before, and then some really fun new originals, which I think is just, you know, all of the, you know, all the stuff that they call IP was all original stuff that came from the original group at Pixar. You know, Toy Story and Monsters and Finding Nemo and all that kind of stuff. So I think the hope is that we keep making more original stories like that.
Well, you're a factory that's building magic, my friend. I mean, it really is just amazing, and I applaud all of you guys. And please express my appreciation and gratitude for the incredible Inside Out 2. You guys did an amazing job. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that Pixar magic is definitely on screen with Inside Out 2. I love the movie. I can't wait to hear what you guys think of it. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon. And until then, play forever.